What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you've never been here. Came to my mind, I'm doing another little clog, my little car logs, and it came to my mind to tell the story or share the story about my awakening and my spiritual awakening. Now, this is a deep story. It's a long story. It's a multi-layered story. But I will tell you the basics and what comes to my mind now. So with that, let me see how do I even start this? Let me see. I'll say, okay. So my spiritual awakening for me, I'll say, happened about was it 2 years ago? I just remember it was right after Thanksgiving, year before last. So it wasn't last year, so yeah, year before last. And I remember the person I was definitely wasn't the person who I am now. And just a negative, nasty person. And one day I was talking to my wife and burst out in tears, talking about something, and it was kind of in that moment where nothing really happened. It was just like, man, that was weird, man. I don't cry, man. What you doing? You crying? And I would say about a couple days after that, it was a shift in perspective. It was, when I tell you, it was like, the only way I can put it is, it was like I woke up. It was like I had been asleep forever and finally had woken up. And in that, I remember in that moment, I was able to see, could stand, I'm going to say stand out of me, but I could see in me all the negative and all the bad that I could do. Like it was a dark cloud within myself, and I could look into that cloud and I could pinpoint all the wrong and everything and all the bad in my life. And it was like I was out of it. Like I was living in that negative cloud, that dark cloud, and I was finally out of it. And in that, I remember right in that, like the days that followed were it's like, well, hold on, I'm about to get ahead of myself. So it was actually in that moment where, when I first came out of that cloud, where I felt like the most confused I had ever felt in my life. I did not know who I felt like I did not know who I was. I felt like I was like, who? It was like I had, like a complete stranger, legitimate stranger. I had no idea who I was. I had been like, who put me in this new body? What is this? Where did this come from? I have no idea what's going on. I was calling around asking my family members to like tell me stories about my upbringing and things like that, because a bunch of things were starting to like really click for me that I had never really paid attention to before. So with that, it was like just confusion for about, how long did the confusion lasted for me? About maybe a month or so. And then after the confusion, I remember just feeling this overwhelming sense of calm and peace and belonging. And it was like the first time I experienced life for what life really is. And what I mean by that is, I remember walking outside, looking at a tree, and I could see, it was like I could see the life in the tree. And it was in that moment I realized just the connectivity to ourself and the universe. So with that, when I had that realization, that started a whole nother shift. But I'll say, before I get into that shift, I sat in this feeling of like openness and connectivity for about, I say about it was maybe 2 months. Oh my goodness, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful lake. But a few months, excuse me to get sidetracked, y'all. Um, and some folks will say that this is the stage of like bliss or whatever once I researched it and, got coaching and all the other good stuff. But either way it goes, excuse this train if you hear it here. But man, I just had this overwhelming sense of just like joy and like, oh my, hold on, let the train roll past. Man, I love trains, man, it's on the bottom. Anyway, this overwhelming sense of joy. It was just like, I saw the world differently. I started to feel different. My attitude was changing. The way I saw people was different. I stopped caring about material things and realized that, man, like just started to realize what true life was. And that was the beginning journey of me starting to learn what love was, I see now at that point. So with that, in that moment, I had to get me a coach. I won't say I had to get me a coach, but I got me a coach. And man, that's when stuff got real. So, not to scare you, and it's not scary at all, but it was just, when I got the coaching, it kind of brought everything I was feeling. And then it was like, since I was a brand new person, that coaching came in right at that same time of me being a new person, and then had to go through and expose my wounds and the real root problem and issues that I was having to the core of my being, things that have been leached onto from that you don't even know it, that I had no idea of. I had to fight all that. I had to go through all that. I had to sit with all that. And to be going through that and to be dealing and learning yourself, and then going through and then learning what emotions are and all this other good stuff, I look at it now and it's actually a beautiful, beautiful thing for me to have to, actually kind of fortunate to relearn myself on all facets all at the same time. But I get sidetracked. So it's just the relearning and rebuilding of yourself, and it's like, okay, this is what it's about. So in that coaching process took me, I don't want to say took me, let me see, it was about, I'm not exactly sure, and I don't want to put a time to it because everybody's coaching journey is different times, different paces. So mine, I don't remember the exact length of time, but I had my coach and I was seeing my coach for a little bit, and then I was able to go in and start doing things a little bit more independently. I got to pause this, y'all. My wife calling.